And last week, the opening kickoff, he fumbles. Like,
Wow.
when has he done that?
Wow.
And it just set, and then Dak ends up throwing an interception, and it just fell from there. Like, how do
Right.
you lose to the Commanders at this point in the season?
Right.
Just be the Cowboys.
So so I realized, right, doing this broadcast, I watch, I talked about Eric Thomas. He has a podcast, of course, not surprising. Everyone has one. And he goes on with his guys, and there's a always recorded, um, and what you would call it? Okay, um, and he comes up with his titles of topics just based on the way the conversation flows. Somebody say a word like, "Oh, make sure we make that's going to be the title," and that's what you see, on the thumbnail.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like, and I love my live people. What's up, Lisa? Oh, what's up,
Morning, morning,
Pastor
morning,
Long
long.
in the
Lisa,
building? What's up,
Richard, bless
Richard?
you all.
Richard, what's
Happy
up?
Tuesday.
Like what you just said, I was like, that's interesting. Like when the norm becomes the unexpected,
Right.
when your standard of life just drops so low, it's like the norm is now my goal. Like you've been there. Like,
Yeah.
dude, if I could just have a car and have a place, like high five.
Right.
No,
You made it.
right.
Oh, man. You jealous.
Right.
Yeah.
Have a car, have a place, because I didn't have this stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
I remember being a single parent as a father
right.
in Los Angeles, and people coming up to me, "Oh, that's so wonderful.
All right. Right.
I'm supposed to do this." Right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But
get the-
but not just that space, but just in your life, like because you may have been in a space where you didn't have, or you're in a space where you struggled. And like for me, I didn't have my license for like almost a decade, because the stuff I did, 100%. I take all the L's. I can't blame the system. I take, other than, dang it, they gotta pull me over now. So, right now, I gotta still take my L's, regardless. And then actually to actually getting my license back with the help of others and folks coming through or whatever. But actually having it's like, to me, big. Like, with our license, I'm like, it's important. Don't mess it up. For people like, what do you mean? I just went, it's important. It's so you could lose your license for a long time. You fool around,
Yeah.
And you don't realize it. You don't realize, some of the things I think we take for granted.
Right.
That we just, for some are norm, for others, that's exceptional.
Mhm.
That's powerful. And so I kind of, throwing out my topic today, kind of want to talk about that a little bit. Like, do we take a lot, for granted? Do we take a lot, our norms, like, and I don't know, you've heard it and you see it, like our poor here is still kind of somewhat better off than the poor in like third world countries.
Right.
Like they still have access to certain things. Like, still hard, not taking that away, but it's still access. Even like us in this middle class space in certain countries, man, middle class is still a struggle. Like
In this country, it's a struggle.
Yeah. But
Middle class is a struggle because middle class is the it's the hardest hit tax bracket.
Right. Because it's like you're right there.
Yeah, you're on the cusp of upper class, and the reality is that's who funds America for the most part, the middle class.
Right. Yeah. Because you don't have enough room to really play the tax game.
Right.
Can't really claim because I gotta put money but I can't put money there. Like, I got to keep that. So I got to pay tax on that. It's like, oh, no. Okay. Buy what? No, I can't afford that. So I just got to pay tax. Like, so, let's see. He said, watch Congress and now see what reforms. Oh, yeah. I'm taking a break from them because they.
What's that?
He said, Richard said, watch Congress and Senate now, see what reforms they want to do.
Oh, what's funny, what's absolutely hilarious is to see Lauren, what's her last name? Boebert?
Yeah, I think that's it. Lauren Boebert. Yeah.
She's quoting Dr. King on Twitter. Like the audacity to quote Dr. King, right. And you want the history of his presence removed from schools, but you're going to quote him.
Yeah.
Famous words, strong words, enlightening words from a great man.
Yeah.
But aren't you all the party that wants to take him out, take that teaching out of the schools? You want to erase his legacy?
Right.
I don't know. Just weird.
Yeah.
Stuff that's weird.
I don't know. It's the whole idea of what's going on. Yeah. And that, it's hypocrisy. It's
just saying.
I believe, like, I don't know. I think there's just a conversation that we need to have with many people. They're the fire starters, and the recipients of unfortunate misinformation. It's a blasphemy. Yes, indeed. And I think, with that, I guess it is kind of within context of, changing our mind, why facts don't change your mind, while really knowing what's in front of you doesn't really change your mind. And
cognitive dissonance at its
cognitive dissonance. That's the word we're going to get to. Mama Corey, no YouTube notification. They don't love me. I didn't even do nothing. I got my titles right. I have no links leading out of the app. I got rid of those. I'm trying to play the game right. I know. It's all good though. It's all good. It's trying to keep me from being great. It's Rich said I like Dr. King. But yeah, I feel like, there's so much as far as the way we think and the way we see things. Mm-hmm. And like you said, with talking about the Cowboys, just they're excited about games that we should be beating people.
Right. Like you guys are up in arms, like, oh my God, look at what they did. When
right.
That's what they're supposed to do.
Right.
You're supposed to have this top-ranked defense that over the last couple of weeks hasn't actually been performing at the highest level. You've got this high-powered offense. Clearly, when Dak Prescott is playing, the Dallas Cowboy offense is the highest scoring offense in the league. They were the highest scoring offense last year in the league, averaging 31 points a game. So and they scored 31 points last night.
Wow.
So what's the big and like people talk about I'm listening to the commentators and I hear people saying, well, we rode him hard when he wasn't playing well. We have to give him his kudos. We got to give him as much kudos as we give him crap for not playing well,
Right.
Like, no, you give him so much mess when he has a tough game or tough outing that you don't know how to give him kudos when he plays great. Last night, literally, one of the commentators, Dan.
Hey, Mama Corey.
What's his last name? I forgot his last name.
No worries.
Great commentator. He says, do you think the offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore of the Dallas Cowboys, has the hand signals of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Wow.
That's your logic. They have speakers in their helmets.
Right.
You think they're doing hand signals on the sidelines like this is 1983. I'm like, oh, that's the reason why they're winning. How about they're just actually playing up to their potential?
Right. 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 That's big. That's big.
Yeah. And just like, we want, and some of us want to be celebrated for
Right.
being normal.
Right. Right.
You ought to be glad I came to work today.
Oh, you lucky I came in here today.
Right. You're at work. I don't want to be here. You're actually going to say that out loud? I'm
Right.
paying you to say you don't want to be here.
Right. 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 Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But on that, like, listen, when I don't care how good you are, if you come into work and you always beefing, I am not giving you another position. I'm not moving you up. I don't want you to become a bigger headache than you already are.
Yeah.
Like, even when you have skills, like, cause you work places, people, this dude could do everything, like everything. And he knows everything. He can do everything. But that attitude, boy, he come in, like, no boss want to deal with you every day. I don't need him closer to me. I don't want to hear that mouth. I don't want him complaining. Yeah, it's the pain in the butt. You are great at what you do. You are amazing. You've been here 15 plus years. You should be higher up. But your mouth, not mouth. Just, your attitude, we all know them. They come into work, they can do any and everything. You ask them anything about the company. Oh man, in 1955, like they know everything about.
Well, I've learned in my leadership experience that there are people that you've heard people say this, people that you can put over things,
right,
over tasks.
Yeah.
And then there's a different set of people that you can put over people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Certain personalities are more geared towards, are most effective being task oriented or project oriented.
Right.
And other people are people oriented.
True. Playing the positions. Right.
Yeah. Not everybody can be president.
Right.
Not everybody can be team lead.
Right.
Not everybody can be director. Everything changes when you put people over people for certain personalities, and they become a detriment to the larger purpose. And that's the reality. So that's why it's important for us to understand personalities and understand and be more keen on how to connect, how to reach people.
Right. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Let me ask you this then. Because again, you work at a job where, if you've worked at a place where the person that knows everything, you're like, man, I need to figure something out. Yeah, go ask John. Dang it, John? Anybody else know? I hate going to John, because you got to get a speech. You got to get attitude. It's
but but that's the thing. You say, yeah, I got to go to John. Okay, hold on. Let me reset. Right. Because I know what I'm getting.
Right. Getting ready to
right. Now, either you're going to go in there and buck against John's natural personality.
Right. And you're not going to get nothing done.
You're going to take what's for you and the rest.
Throw it away.
You leave it with John.
Right.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Right. I got it, John. Next time I have it on the pink paper slip, the paperwork, instead of the white. I apologize. Yeah. I'll have that.
I don't know why you guys don't understand that this is all you have to do.
Yeah. Yes. That is every John at the company. I don't understand it. Every time. Every day.
They didn't teach you that when you got here. Who trained you? Don't tell John who trained you.
Right. Yeah. Never
Lucy trained me. I knew it. Lucy can't train nobody to do nothing. Lucy need training herself.
Right. Right.
Sorry,
meanwhile, she like the boss of the boss.
We failed you, John. I apologize. We failed you.
Right.
We've not lived up to your standard, John.
Oh man. Richard said.
Yeah, Absolutely.
Can
Not
make a
everyone
hard decision.
not everybody can do the hard decisions instead of
Right.
easier solutions. No one likes being the deliverer of bad
Bad
news.
news.
And
Right.
it's necessary.
Yeah.
As a father, as a provider, as a leader that I have been, there's been many a times that you have it in your mind. Don't shoot the messenger,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
Someone has to deliver this message,
Right. I gotta go
good,
tell
bad, or indifferent.
John
Yeah.
that such and such. We getting rid of such and such. We're not gonna do this anymore. I gotta tell John. Well, he in your department. Dang it. Hey John. Hey John. What? uh we're no longer using something we've been using for the last 30 years. we're not doing that. What you mean? we don't need to do that.
I hope y'all don't think I'm gonna go back to doing that.
Oh yeah, going back, right? I'm not going back to that.
Y'all don't pay me enough to do that.
Oh yeah, that's the best line right there. Y'all don't pay me enough for that. But yeah, so I think it is challenging to kind of change mindsets and to overcome personalities at times. Especially in moments when you're trying to work together to build something. And we got the Johns at work, we got the Johns at church. They've been doing stuff for a long time. This is what I do. I've been doing pastor that, especially if a pastor told him to have a job that passed away. Now with his words, he immortalized that these instructions don't change. He set me here to do this. God rest his soul. So having it's the cognitive dissonance, right? Cognitive dissonance. Am I saying that right? When facts present themselves,
Right.
as a way of change, can we change with that? Can we change when we understand the truth? Like you've told the story about the chicken, mama cutting the chicken, or great grandmother cutting the chicken in half, and you realize we only cut it in half because she had a small stove. There's no need to do that anymore.
But I never called it a chicken.
What'd you call it?
Just called it a bird.
Oh,
because I can't confirm.
Sorry.
I can't confirm what it was.
It's like the whale. They didn't say whale. He said big fish.
Yeah.
It's a whale.
If for any reason, I put that out there because if for any reason a relative of that person, a descendant of that person is out there, that ain't the story.
Right. I just want to argue with you. It's a turkey. It doesn't matter. It's a story. My bad. All right. I'll now say turkey. Oh man, but yeah, definitely. Dealing with those that are stuck in a certain space, where facts don't matter. The advent of the internet has probably just ruined a lot of stuff. Well, let's look that up.
Right.
You've been saying that for decades. Let's look that up. Let's see what the rest of the world says. What does it really mean? You get the whole history. Yeah, that was wrong. No, I still believe it. And I think, and it just comes to a lot of stuff, like even politics, policies. What looks like something we need may not necessarily be something we need. It could even be from raising taxes or starting a program. I took a guy home yesterday, and I know you got to roll out in a minute, Pastor. I was driving Lyft. He's a chaplain at a hospital at Grady Hospital. If you don't know, in Atlanta, it's like the biggest. It's pretty famous. Like anyone from Atlanta, they're proud to be a Grady baby. So that's a badge of honor here, Grady baby. And he was telling me about because he's a chaplain. People have either disease or dealing with something, loss of family, and he's saying the biggest struggle is homeless people. That are in there, of course, because of something. But so when they get out, though, it's like no place to go. It's back into trying to figure out life on the streets. And he was just saying, he has ideas, to help or whatever. But he was telling me, he said, listen, I went around trying to ask, what have we tried? I don't want to jump into something that you guys that I think is huge, that you guys already tried, that's just not working. I don't want to waste my time. It may not, my mind, it works, but for this area, it doesn't work. And he said, I got really no answers. He said, I've asked. He said, I questioned. I've asked hospital staff. I've asked representatives that come through. And he's just like, I've not really gotten a solid answer on fixing the problem, and there's and he's like this because he said there's levels of homelessness. He said there are those that something happened dramatic, they lost everything. There are those that are what do you say, veterans that have what's the thing, a PTSD, and they just have a struggle with getting their life together. He said then there are those that just have mental health issues that just can't live a normal life, just pull themselves up by the bootstraps, get it together. They need a lot of assistance. He said, so you can't lump one answer for everybody.
Right.
And I think that's been a lot of the idea, like, all we need is a bunch of housing, sounds good. If choices. I don't know.
So many choices.
Yeah.
So many. It's funny. I think about this quote from Andy Andrews, this book that he wrote, The Traveler's Gift.
Okay.
The book was about a man at the end of his rope. He had every excuse. And he's like, he got to the point where he felt he had lost his job. He had worked at this job for over 20 something years, lived with his family in his home. Everything was fine. And all of a sudden he wakes up and he's without a job. Wow. Got blaming everything, this, that, mad at the world. Can't believe they did this to me. And, how did I get here? And, yet all, and I don't know if this is related, but it just makes you think. His name in the book is David Ponder. And so he gets an opportunity to travel in time to visit seven key people in time.
Okay.
Harry Truman before the bomb was dropped,
Wow.
He pops up into Harry Truman's office the day he makes the decision.
Wow. Right.
And Harry Truman knows. And so anyway, it's kind of like the, what's that movie, Scrooged?
Okay. Visited by the ghost or something like that. Yeah,
Christmas Past, whatever. Okay. But he gets an opportunity. He gets a nugget from each of these seven key people in history. And he brings that back and has a better life. And one of the quotes he had was, the ultimate outcome of anyone's life is based on personal decisions. Right? Sounds so basic, but we miss it. I said that. I'll explain it later, but I got to jump to go get on a call.
Yes. All right. Part 2 to that. Oh, that's good. That's good. That is simple. So listen, I appreciate you guys for being here. I'm not closing out yet. So let me ask you guys this, and I know there's always a pause, and I'm going to talk. Charles Dixon was a credible writer. Indeed. Do you find, for yourself personally, and I need several people in here, do you find it hard to change your mind on something when you receive new facts about it? Do you find it hard to change your mind on something when you receive new facts about it? And if you're at least the over age of 35, you've had a life prior to the internet, so a lot of information were books. A lot of information were people, your village, telling you this fact that you just took it as such because 20 people in your village said yes, but not knowing there's one person that told one person that told one person that told one person. Really change your mindset about something. Like, do you struggle to something your grandma told you, your nana told you, someone of some great influence? Do you find it hard to change your mind when you receive new information? Even if you discover it on the internet, like this thing you believe forever, but the internet proves that this thing is false, that this thought that you've had, this belief that you had, is false. Richard said, who you think is the best American writer? To me, to date, I like Alex Haley. He's always a great writer. Autobiography of Malcolm X was great. Roots, and there was another book I read. But I think Alex Haley, he great writer, and I really put him up there because I never was much of a reader. Oh, okay. I was never much of a reader when I was growing up until I picked up the autobiography of Malcolm X. It captivated me, literally. Like, so, if you're not much of a reader, definitely read the autobiography of Malcolm X. It's a great story. Of course, this truth is his account. All right, I got you, brother. So yeah, definitely check it out. Let's see. So yeah, definitely a great story. So yeah, do you struggle with changing your scent? So do you struggle with when you receive new information? Dr. Ron says, I'm pretty open-minded for most things. What are your no-go? I mean, I know religion, I know is always it will be a challenge. It'll be a challenge because it's something you believe forever. It's something you always, and those throwing that into question would take a lot, to shift my mind and think it's something else. So I know religion is always like almost a no-go. It's like it really has to be a divine shift, with certain things, a belief system like that. It's all right. So give me the things that. Okay, so Lisa says the same thing. It depends on what it is. Okay, me too. Richard said me too. What are the things that like if you were layered, right? If you had subjective subjects that layered, right? What would be on top that is easy to kind of not I won't say easy, but you can like, okay, I can see that different. Would it be like science? Would it be politics? Would it be religion? I think religion is layered. Religion is like a deep threshold. That's you have to prove a lot to change my mind on that. But what would be your layered thought? And honestly, like when it comes to religion, like not the foundational stuff, I might see something different. Like if someone's like, hey, did you realize that the Bible says such and such was such and such? And I'm like, okay. I never, Oh, so he said, as a Christian, would you adopt some Hindu, Buddhist practices and principles? Probably not. Probably not. And honestly, though, if you really look in the word, a lot of those practices are in there, but when you get deep into the Hindu and Buddhist religion, it's more about self. You understand what I'm saying? It's more that I think yoga might be a part of that. It's all about self. It's never, whereas we know, we see it, we have a God that we serve. I think, Buddhist is more about self. I think the Buddhism, they have a focus, but it's more about self. Let's see. All right. Yeah. So what would be your layered stuff? So like for me, I think politics. That's probably my top. What's up, Danny? Good morning. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. We didn't say happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday to everybody. I think for me it would be, like I said, politics. Like I'm open. I'm open for conversation. I'm open for thoughts. I'm open for interactions. Present some new information like I didn't realize. Because with politics, things are, I think, somewhat easy to statistically prove. Does that make sense? So, like if you have the idea, like Democrats have the prime the pump. They believe you push money from the bottom, it reaches the top. All right, let's try it again. Whereas the Republicans feel like they have the trickle down. Give money to the top, it'll make its way to the bottom. And it's always been an argument, but I'm sure there's some statistics that kind of prove one or the other. Let's see. I might have sent it to the wrong person. Let's see. I'm trying to get some money on here, guys. Just bear with me. Let's see. Let's try one more again. Yeah. All right. Sent. But yeah, so like I think for me, politics, I'm always open for those conversations. I'm always open for those conversations. But my thing is about the political conversations. I need you to be open as well. Like I would love to just talk to people that are, you have to be open as well. that's my thing. Like I said, if you talk politics, you have to choose your audience and pick your arguments wisely. See, I don't like that though. Like, why is it, Richard, that we can't just have a conversation about politics? Let's see. Okay. Dr. Rollins says, politics, history, I would try to understand anyone's point of view, especially if I'm not directly involved or affected. I have to be open-minded. Gotcha. I got you. I guess it's more sensitive, I guess, if you're talking about like women's health, not just the abortion thing, because there's so many more, women's rights, I guess it can be emotion. It can get emotional, and not from a like woman perspective, period. I get emotional about certain topics as well. I get you. Let me get. What's up, Thomas? Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning.
Good, straight.
Yep.
Awesome. He said you could do so if you take the emotion out and logical and rational. I think, yeah, and I don't know. Like, I would love to just have logical, rational conversations about politics. Is that possible? I think sometimes also, and you can jump in. I think like even when I back, when people put a post, they put a statement out, and you see comments. I think what bothers me is like, place your point, but you don't have to start off with "you're a bunch of idiots." You ever see that? Like, I read your point, I got you, but you don't have to start off, "You're a bunch of idiots if you believe."
Right.
Like, the facts are. Boom. You can just start with the facts are. Once you insult me, I'm not hearing you anymore. Like, and I've said that in comments. Like, I get what you're saying, but once you insult me, we can't have a conversation. Because now it's like, for real. All right, your mama's so.
Mm-hmm.
you just open it up. Like, this is what we're gonna do. So I think I hate those. I hate, like, stop. Don't insult people. Because you could really make change. You might say something. Because I've read posts about certain controversial stuff. It's like, they had a point. Like, and I put like, you know what? You had a point. You had a point. So for you, Thomas, what are some of your top layer stuff that you can have a conversation? Maybe like, okay, I might change my mind on that.
Right. There's some hills to die on, and there's some hills that you just kind of walk with, and you're just
Okay.
like, hey, I'm okay with however you believe. I know I'm not going to change you in this space.
Right.
Having a conversation is not a big deal. You should be able to have a conversation, but some people, they don't want to look like a fool.
Right.
And so I remember growing up, like, whatever I believed. You're not going to change me, right? And I remember saying to myself one time, someone asked me, why do you always have to blurt out an answer? And I said, because I don't want to sound like a fool. But the reality is, I was making myself a fool because all I do was share information that I never checked. Like, I get information in and I never check the information, whether it's right or wrong.
Right.
But hey, it's my answer. I'm gonna give it to you, right?
That's what I've been told. Right.
Yeah, it's what I've been told. I've known this all my life. So why would I change now, right? And so, one of my favorite quotes is, "It's better to be thought of a fool than open your mouth and remove all doubt." So a lot of times what we do is we go off of our foolish emotions, our foolish thoughts, our adolescent information that we get,
Right.
and
Right.
we never check it.
Right.
You know, think about how many people we know that are full-fledged adults still gangbanging. You know, and it's like, wait, you ain't never checked that information to see if it actually works out?
Right. Right.
You know, and I mean, but you know, I don't knock them. That's one of the things. You know, your truth is your truth. I cannot knock you for your truth because that's all you know. Probably you never been taught how to think something different,
Right.
and you feel this is the way it should go. You know,
Right.
when every sad moment comes up, think about the people you know that every sad moment that comes up, they have to cry.
Mm.
They don't look at the moment and say, well, maybe there's a lot of good in this. Right now, again, I get the sadness between, let's say someone passed away, you might miss someone,
Right.
but you also miss all the goodness they brought to your life and the reason why you're even sad.
Right.
So because I have to go into this low place is what we always feel like sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, when it comes to like changing and challenging the way we think, it doesn't feel right if I have joy because someone in my life brought so much joy to my life and now they're gone, and I have this little bit of joy. That's not right. I can't do that, you know. And so there's a way that we have to think. A lot of times when something's emotionally charged, like politics, like religion, like relationships, when it's emotionally charged, that's a lot of times where it's the hardest to see through all the mess and madness because of the emotion that goes behind it. Truth don't matter in those moments. And you know, you think about being in a relationship. I know people have been in a relationship before where they've been, you know, a man might have told their wife or their girlfriend something and they totally discounted it, but then someone else comes along and says the same exact thing. And they're like, oh, that's some good stuff right there. And you're like, I just told you that last week.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
The messenger matters sometimes, and the emotion matters in these situations. And so it's a lot to unpack when it comes to these situations. But I mean, go back to your question is, I would, what would I, you know, talk about and possibly even change? I mean, I leave my mind open to everything, but if your argument is rooted in feelings or you know, dogma or some kind of belief that you've been taught and you've never checked, like I'm just going blindly with this, then you know, I can't roll with that. You got to give me some foundation, something that can change the way I think about something or something I've actually experienced.
100%. Dr. Rollins says health is another topic. My mind definitely can be changed with them. Yes, new information. Yes, Dr. Rollins, I'm with you on that one. Like, because we discover things. I feel like they discover something every day. Like, don't eat all that. You know, like, you need to kind of take that out your diet. Oh, wait, put it back in your diet. Like, you know, wait, put a little bit. Don't take it. No, you don't need it. You know. So definitely health is a big one. Health is a big one. I'm open, you know, to listening to that. It becomes it's now I'm gonna keep it real. It's challenging if someone says, hey, you cannot do this anymore. Like, what? You know, and then you know I don't even know what to call it, but you know, the mind when someone tells you don't and you try to tell your body no, it wants it more, it craves it more. Like, I want some of that. You know, knowing I only eat it once a week, now I want it every day. Like, so health is definitely one of those things that I can I'm with you on that. That is a top layer. I can rock with that. I'll listen. I'll even kind of listen to average Joes, you know, that kind of talk about it. Like, I'm like, okay, I research it, but I'm like, you know, you ever hear something that's like, that makes sense. That could fit together. Like, you know, this and this can do this in your body. I get it. That makes sense. You know, of course, research, you'll be like, nah, it's not true. It's not true.
You know, it's so interesting when you think about health and the things we know about health and why it's so hard to change our mind is because the body wants what it wants.
Right.
I want that fried chicken versus baked chicken. It's still chicken, but I want it fried. Right.
Crispy. I need the crisp.
You know, I need the crisp. I need the, you know, the texture. I need this. And you know, when the mind wants what it wants, it just does what it wants to do. You know, and a lot of times when it comes to the challenging of changing our mind, it's not necessarily the facts. You know, it's the things that we want to do. We experience this.
Wow.
And it's like it doesn't have to be fact.
That's good.
It's I want to do what I want to do.
Right.
You know, if the Bible says do this, but it's like, no, I want to do this.
Right. Right.
You know, no matter how holy you are, it's like, I'm not gonna, I can't do that, even though I know the truth. And the truth is making me free, but I want to be in bondage.
Right. 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 I like this bond of a burger. I like this.
Yeah, the triple steak house
Right.
burger.
Woo.
Yeah, I've never had one. That feels like a heart attack already.
Right. Eating that hitting like 9-1.
Yeah, I don't need 2 or 3 of those. Give me one of those, and I'm out.
I'm good. Oh man. So yeah, he says, how many times is it highly emotionally charged? I think everything can be emotionally
Yeah,
charged.
it can be. It depends on the person.
Yeah.
The person can be a highly emotional charged person where you can't get no
Oh,
truth
wow.
through to them. You know, we've been around that. You talked about the people at work who come to work and they have this attitude, right?
Yes.
You know, I don't even want to be here, right? That's an emotional charge that continues throughout their day because their whole attitude is affected by those comments, right?
Yes.
And I share a lot of times with people, the loudest voice you'll ever hear is the one in your own head. And so whatever your own head is telling you, it don't matter what kind of logic someone else brings to you. If I feel a certain way, if I think a certain way, whatever is driving me at this moment, that's what's going to matter.
Right. True indeed. Like Ron says, for sure, a lot of folks will tell me I'm going to die anyway. So continue to eat everything, smoke, drink, etc. True.
She hit the nail on the head right there because but the crazy part is we're going to die anyway. Let's just shorten that lifespan. Or let's make it harder. Let me go through health challenges. I'm going to go through these.
Give me lung cancer, mess up my liver.
I don't want to be healthy in the process. I mean, you know, a lot of folks, they come up with this logic, right?
Yeah.
And they hold on to the logic behind like, I'm going to die anyways.
Yeah.
And so I might as well, do this the worst way possible. YOLO, we get that. You only live once.
Right?
Yeah. I remember, and I'm going to say some stuff's crazy, but when I used to smoke weed, right?
Okay.
And I smoked a lot of weed. People used to always ask me why I smoke weed. Well, it comes from the earth. God made it. It ain't never killed nobody. It never been, had all the excuses. And now I hear people who smoke weed now, they're saying the same excuse. I'm like, you ain't never tried nothing different. How do you know? How do you know you can't function without weed? How do you know you can't? Look, I hear people say this all the time about smoking weed. I can't eat unless I'm smoking. I'm like, stop smoking. I bet your body would tell you you're hungry.
Right.
It's changing the mindset. It's this mindset that we get and we hold on to. It's the standard. Now, my favorite about not changing, why facts don't change the mind, right? Mm-hmm. Think about the person who still wears their little football jersey from high school when they had everything going on, right? It's like the glory days, right? The person still holds on to the Jerry curl, the glory days, right? When we start thinking about those type of individuals, we start thinking about a person who gets stuck in a place where they had so much success, and that was the only success that they can lay their hat on during that time. I had a Jerry curls when I got all my girls, they like my hair was fly. Or when I was a high school quarterback, you remember when I threw that 20-yard pass for the touchdown? Yeah, and they talk about every time you see them, they're stuck in that moment. And it's one of those times where we have to start looking like, okay, what else did I do? What else can I have done in life that, instead of being stuck in those moments of glory?
Right. Okay, Danny, putting it out there. He said, I can't function, but I do like to get high before eating. Okay.
Yeah. You know what I've learned about that, Danny, is that some of the food that I used to think tastes the best actually was garbage. I was just high. I would go back to places like, oh yeah, this restaurant was the bomb. Let me get back and try this food again. And I go there, I'm like, man, this is garbage.
This is nasty. I used to eat this. Oh,
like,
man.
I did that.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious. He said that AD is his from them. Nah, I ain't have any glory days. I wouldn't want to go back to high school for nothing. Like high school wasn't it wasn't fun like that. I mean, I met my wife there, but outside of that, yeah, nah. No
Yeah.
glory days, no glory days.
Nah.
But yeah, it definitely like people do get that from the earth. And I always say, just because from the earth don't mean you're supposed to smoke it.
Right. I mean, how many other things are from the earth?
Right? You smoke broccoli, like
Right.
smoke carrots, like you know. So that
Listen,
when you
facts
said
don't
it, I
matter.
was just like, man.
Yeah.
Everybody says that. I'm like, yeah.
But you know what? And I say this.
So,
This topic is kind of like one of the things. The changing the mindset is like my
Right.
thing. And
Right.
you know, you have a person who will think a thought and they'll kick it around in their own head and they'll, you know, think of all the stuff that goes with it and conclude it in their own head, but they won't add the other side of the information into it. Like this information comes from somewhere.
right.
And if let's say you're in a relationship and you have a disagreement with someone and you
Right.
thought they did something, but instead of going to them and asking their perspective, you create this whole narrative in your own
Right.
head, kick it around, conclude it, and that's what you give back to them.
Right.
So you
right.
come already to the table upset, angry, or whatever.
Man.
And a lot of times what we have to do is take a moment and say, well, maybe there's a different reason for this, right? But why? Because my mind is already where it's at. You know,
Right.
your facts won't change my mind. I don't
Right.
care what you thought, this is how I feel, or whatever it may be. Emotionally charged. And
Right.
again, that goes in many different areas that I'm starting to realize that it's not just, you know, in a relationship. It's in a
Yeah.
lot of areas. When you get someone in their emotions, why do Trumpers hunker down, right?
Right.
Yesterday we celebrated, observed Dr. Martin Luther King, right? And
Right.
so when you start to look, my kids and I were looking back at some of these videos of, you know, Martin Luther King and some of the things that they had to go through. Like
Right.
some of the stuff that was being said back in the 60s was
Yeah.
some of the rhetoric that we saw in the 2020s, right?
Right.
And so it's like some people will hold on because, you know, they're marketed to a certain way because
Yeah.
they feel a certain way, but they've
Right.
never challenged to see, is this true or is it not true?
Right.
I feel a certain way. I feel that this is right. I
Right.
feel like the civil rights movement was a long time ago, so you need to let it go. But no one
Right.
else tells any other group of people you got to let it go, right?
Right. Right.
And I was
Right.
telling my kids, one of my sons said, you know, I'm glad I wasn't living in that time, in that era.
Oh,
I said, man,
yeah.
let me share something that you're living in this era, in the similarities and different other things, and how you
Right.
can be in those types of situations still. I mean, it's much different. I said,
Yeah.
what you're looking at is the foundation of opportunities that we have today that you can
Right.
take advantage of, or you
Right.
can put yourself back in those situations.
Right.
And if you can't let go of change our mind that things are actually different today, you will hold on to all the negative stuff and continue to, you know, spew the same rhetoric and hold on to that and hold yourself back. Yes,
Right.
things are hard still, and
Right.
things aren't equal, or there's no equity in, you know, the system. But there's a lot more than there was then. And
Right.
so we can't forget that there's a reason why you and I could be on this show today.
Right.
But there
Right.
are other people who look at all the negative regarding stuff and say, well, we don't have, and we don't, you know, have to move this forward. I think,
Right.
you know, it's just change is one of those hard things. Change is hard, but it's not impossible.
Right.
But
That's good.
when people hit hard, they
Yeah.
stop. They want to
Right.
stop. They want to say, you know what, that's too hard.
Yeah.
But then
Can't change that.
what's the alternative? To not
Right.
change, right? Which
Right.
one's harder? Staying the
Right.
same or changing?
Changing. Right.
And
Right.
a lot of times people want to stay the same. They want to stay in the hard. And it's like, you
Right.
know, as we grow older, we get to a certain point where we're like, we're too old for that mess,
Right. Right.
you know? But why wait until we're too old for that mess?
Right.
You don't need to be a young fool all your life.
Right. I said, oh, you don't need to be a young fool all your life.
Right. Right.
Not your whole life. Oh man. Listen, we appreciate you guys for being here with us. Another Distant Brothers Legacy. Facts don't change our mind all the time. And don't be afraid to engage sometimes. Just have a conversation. Sometimes you can't change people's mind. You might just drop a nugget, something to think about, something to chew on. And sometimes be willing to listen as well. Sometimes you might hear something that might open your eyes to understanding, even if they have such an opposing view. Sometimes you'll get a glimpse to why they believe, like, oh, that's why you're stuck. Oh, okay. And because let's keep 100. A lot of times if a parent, grandparent, someone told them, it's almost like I hold this information to honor them in a sense, like this is just what I've been trained from, they died and there was their closing words. It's just, they're stuck in that space. So it's hard for them to move out of that. It's hard for them to move. So sometimes you just got to respect, the agree to disagree, and keep pushing. Because, and like I said, come to conversation with an open mind. Just be willing to have that conversation.
I'm not going to start up a new conversation, but that agree to disagree.
Okay.
That's one of those areas where we just agree to disagree because it gives us a way out of a conversation. It doesn't allow us to challenge ourselves and change our minds or whatever. It's just like, I'm going to hold on to mine, you hold on to yours. We just agree to disagree. There's no time for us to really see there is a truth. There is something that's true. And there is a way we can get to this if we just want to communicate. But the reality is now let's just agree to disagree. You just go your way, I go mine. And we hold on to our guns, and facts ain't going to change our mind in this situation. So anyways, I'm sorry. That's one of those areas.
No, you're right. I can't disagree with that.
Disagree.
I can't disagree. You're right.
All right.
I mean, I've done that here. Like, all right, we're just going to stop. You're just going to agree to disagree so we can keep moving.
Yeah. But that's the keep it moving phrase. It's like, I'm gonna say this, and then it allows us to keep our dignity. I don't have to know no truth. I don't have to change anything. Yes. I don't even know why we talked about that for 3 hours. We just agree to disagree. We waste that 3 hours and keep it moving. Yeah. But what I do find out is when people say let's agree to disagree, whatever they're agreeing to disagree about is going to pop back up. Yeah. So instead of finding a solution, you typically find yourself back in the same situation, agreeing to disagree about the same thing you agreed to disagree about before. That's just my experience.
I'm calling timeout so I can go get my strategy right. So I get my argument together. I'm gonna get my argument together so I can come back at you.
Hey, that's my opinion. I'm willing to be changed on that. Anyone want to jump on here and try to change my opinion about that? Give me some facts. I don't mind. Hey, everything we say on this show is a part of experience, right?
It is.
100%. And if we're looking for truth or if we're just looking at our minds being open to something, people come on this show with their minds open, willing to hear things. We should be willing to hear things also. So if someone doesn't agree with something we say on here, we should be willing to say, okay, I hear you.
Right. Right. I'm never the one to shoot you down. Just present your stuff, and let it be said. And then we're going to agree to disagree. Listen, I appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you for rocking with us. Thank you, Thomas, for coming through at the second half and helping me out. So listen, make sure you share. Make sure you let everybody know that the Brothers of Legacy comes on every single day, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm be coming back on Mondays a few times. Gonna be trying something, coming back, but I don't want to talk too much about it. So, Lissy says so much misinformation comes because people want 15 minutes of fame. Right. That's good. Yeah. Because those are people that you just like, you're not really trying to have a conversation. You're just trying to stir something up. That's the stuff that annoys me. Like, what's the end game? Like there's a guy, he's an attorney and he's on this, he's talking about how men get railroaded in divorce or whatever, like they always lose custody of their kids and things of that nature. Like he's just trying to just stir stuff up. And my thing is like, what is your end game? What solution are you posing? Like, don't get married, but then he kept saying black women, like, okay, don't get married to black women, and I put it in comments, like, I'm waiting to see, I'm like, I just need to know. I'm gonna see what's going down. What up, Terry? Good morning, sir. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. Appreciate you guys for being with us. Stay connected to us. Text LWN to 84576. Text LWN to 84576. Never miss a broadcast. Oh gosh. I can't even put that up. I know. Terry, I know Terry. He's bleeding a little bit. All right, Terry. I love you, man. So we talk to you tomorrow. Same time, same channel. It's Mental Health Wednesday. Prayerfully we'll have Matt Genius come through and drop some nuggets. All right. So we'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same channel. Be blessed. Keep pushing. Keep growing. Know that we love you. Jesus loves you more. 988. You or someone you love is having a mental health crisis. 988. All right. That's it. Peace out.